Mercury's dancing where the fire runs high. Heart of the sun, burning bright in the sky. Do you feel the heat? Do you feel alive? A cosmic pulse, making souls collide. New moon rising, can you feel the shift? A spark in the dark, a celestial gift. True light shining on our minds. Follow the stars, let the path unwind. New intention, plant the seeds. Balance the scales, give the heart what it needs. True light shining on our minds. Follow the stars, let the path unwind. New intention, plant the seeds. Balance the scales, give the heart what it needs. Libra whispers where the winds align. Union of love, a sacred design. The stars are a map, the heavens a sign. Do you see it glow? Do you feel divine? The stars align, the rhythm flows. Where it leads, nobody knows. Gravity fades, let the moment freeze. We're planting dreams beneath cosmic seas. True light shining on our minds. Follow the stars, let the path unwind. New intention, plant the seeds. Balance the scales, give the heart what it needs. True light shining on our minds. Follow the stars, let the path unwind. New intention, plant the seeds. Balance the scales.
All right, welcome everyone to this new moon astrological update. Lotus Dawn here with Blossom with the Stars, true to the actual stars sidereal astrology. And I had to get on here to clear up some information for a lot of you out there. Mainstream astrology has been sharing that this new moon is in Scorpio. Well, it's actually in the last degrees of Libra, and I want to show you why. But when you have a sign that's in the very last degrees, it's 5 degrees away. This new moon was 15 degrees of Libra, 5 degrees to get to Scorpio. So this is really a cusp new moon. And when you have a cusp new moon, that means it integrates together the two energetics of the two signs, Libra and Scorpio. And so I want to dive deep into what this may mean for us going forwards the next 2 weeks. What signs are actually in Libra, what signs are actually in Scorpio, and clear it all up. So we're going to go to the actual sky. I had a comment last night. They said, the sun and moon are definitely not in Libra. They're in Scorpio. And I said, let's go take a look at it. So let's go see what's actually happening up in the sky. I use stellarium.org. So I invite you all to go to stellarium.org and check it out. What's up there? What sign is the sun and moon in at this moment in time? We had the new moon, November 19th, 10:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so that moon is slowly getting bigger. We're still in the window, though, of the new moon, but there's some really intense energies at foot, and so good to see you guys on here. Let's take a look at what is going on. Okay, so we currently have in Libra, the sign of balance, the sign of harmony, the sign of justice, Venus. Venus is known as the goddess of love energy. Venus is related to money flow. It's related to, they often call it the billionaire planet. It's the planet of love. It's the planet of beauty. And so for Venus to be in the sign of Libra, denotes a good time to spend money on beautiful things. If you're an investor, if you want to make money, invest in beautiful things. What are some examples? Beautiful clothing, high-end clothing, jewelry, beautiful things. And then we also have the sun. And this is where it gets complicated because some people have said this new moon was in Scorpio. Some people, I was saying it's in Libra, but I want to just show you. I mean, we're a couple days out, so the sun was around here at the time of the new moon, but the sun is literally right at the edge between Scorpio and Libra. And so when you have that kind of energy, that means, hi, Ashley, good to see you. How are you doing with this new moon energy? And please be sure to leave in the chat how you are doing, because this is very intense energy. The sun is actually going to go into Scorpio on November 23rd. The sun is not in Scorpio yet, but the sun will get into Scorpio on November 23rd. And Scorpio is deep water. And in fact, we already have Mars here, and Mars is the sign of energy. It's the sign of action. It's the sign of leadership energy. It goes deep, 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 deep energy. Okay. It can be a transformational energy. It can bring things up to the surface that we don't want to face, we don't want to confront. I call it the initiation planet. And today, the moon is actually in one of my favorite signs, Ophiuchus, which is the 13th sign. It's known as the snake tamer. Right here, you see a man holding a snake. And Ophiuchus relates to mastery of energy. I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but they often say that the Kundalini energy runs up the spine, and that energy is what we feel or we raise up when we do energy work, when we do yoga. We raise the Kundalini vibe, let's say. So when the moon is in Ophiuchus, Mars is in Scorpio, it's going to feel very, very deep and very, very intense. However, the sun has not yet hit Scorpio. Okay, I want you to just take a look at this. The sun is very much still in Libra, just barely holding on here, just barely holding on. So, what I would like to do now is I want to dive into the big three main energies that are being activated after this new moon. We have the energy of Libra. What is that all about? We have the energy of Scorpio. What is that about? We have the energy of Ophiuchus. And please share in the chat, how are you doing? What has this new moon brought up for you so I can address it? Ask me, do you have any questions? Feel free to ask them in the chat so I can address them. But let's dive into kind of the three main energies that are up on the surface for everyone right now. First of all, we have the energetic of Libra. We have the sun in Libra for the next couple of days. So what is Libra energy all about? And we can see which one is landing the most for you in your life right now. Okay, so I'm going to stop share. Okay. You know, Libra is really interesting. Libra is a lot about the law and a lot about justice. And so when we have big Libra energy, it can be a time when we see a lot of things on the news. We see people doing stuff related to law and legal matters. We may have legal matters we have to attend to. Okay, so here's our new moon astrology update. Let's dive into this reminder about astrology and why it's so powerful to actually follow astrology and learn about astrology is that millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. And the reason for this is that when you know what's happening astrologically, it can actually help you predict financial things. And so those of you who've been watching the stock market may know that the last couple days it has dropped like crazy. And one of the main planets that relates to wealth is actually Jupiter. And so the two main wealth planets are Jupiter and Venus. And when either one of those planets go retrograde, guess what? We're going to see a plummet in the stock market. We're going to see it drop, right? And so why is that? Well, Jupiter is known as the millionaire planet. And so Jupiter went retrograde just about a week ago. And not only did it go retrograde, but it went retrograde in the sign of home and the sign of family. And so interesting to be going into Thanksgiving. And when it went retrograde was right during the government shutoff. And it was directly opposite Pluto, which is in Capricorn, which is the sign of the gods. I'm sorry, the sign of government, gods, government. Interesting little thing in my brain there. So, government, Pluto, the sign of transformation, is actually in the sign of government right now. And it was when it went retrograde opposite Jupiter in Cancer. So, what does all of this mean? We're basically dealing with Jupiter when it goes retrograde with, instead of finances moving forwards, it can feel like a lot of delays. And so, how do we get past that? How do we actually get our finances to move forwards? What's the secret recipe? Well, we can look at the sign that Jupiter is in, right? Because a lot of you probably want to be like, how do I increase my money flow? Oh my gosh, Lotus, what do I do? So I'm going to show you where Jupiter is retrograde. Okay. So Jupiter is retrograde right here in Cancer. It's in 0 degrees of Cancer, which is the sign of home and family. It's also the sign of ancestry. It's also the sign of DNA. And so when it goes retrograde in the sign of family, retrograde means the past. It means going back in the past. It means looking at where we've come from, what are our roots? And I actually had a really interesting story. Does anyone ever get onto ancestry.com or do any genetic research? Yeah, that's a really big secret to helping your money flow get moving right now. When Jupiter, which is the millionaire planet, is retrograde. So Jupiter represents money, it represents abundance, it represents money flow. And it's currently retrograde, which means dealing with things from the past, right? And it's in the sign of Cancer, which is home and family. And this represents DNA. It can represent genetic research. It can represent ancestral research. It can represent information or knowledge about your home or your family. So, your homeland, your root system, where you come from. And with Jupiter retrograde, it means that our money flow could be tied up with our family. It could be tied up with our ancestors. It could be tied up with our DNA. Stuff from the past related to our ancestry and related to our family. And so, if you want to get your money flow to move forwards, one area or thing you could do is actually do ancestral research. You could talk to your mom and dad. You could do basically an inventory of family, right? What's happening in your family? What's happening with mom and dad? What's happening with their money flows? Were there any things you picked up from them that you might be replaying? Because when Jupiter goes retrograde in the sign of family, it means that we're being asked to look back on our family. We're being asked to look back on the DNA and see, is there anything being brought up to the surface? Is there anything that's in the way of success with our money flow? Okay. And so I have a little story here where I saw Jupiter had gone into Cancer, which is the sign of home and family, which relates to our money flow. And I thought, gosh, well, let me just jump on ancestry.com. I've been working on my family line for quite a while. And I did a little bit of research with my father's line. Now, I had known for a very long time that I had ancestors who came on the Mayflower on my mom's side. We have ancestors going back to John Howland, who was on the Mayflower. And I knew that for most of my life. It's always made Thanksgiving a really important time for us. And I found out, looking back on my dad's lineage, going back on his mother's father's side, that he also has ancestors going back on the Mayflower. And so, doing this ancestral research, I actually discovered that I have ancestors going back on both my mom and dad's side to the Mayflower. And I'd never known this before. And one of the things that it did is that I realized I also was like, oh, so, are they related to any famous people? And sure enough, this ancestor then had descendants that were very famous. And so by finding this out, it actually started to shift my self-image because I've had a lot of challenges with my mom and with my dad and with my parents. And I've struggled with feeling like maybe I could be a successful person, right? Maybe I could actually achieve success in this world and in this life. And so that's one of the powers of Jupiter retrograde is it actually caused me to look back into time, to actually do DNA ancestral research and discover that one of my ancestors on my dad's side actually created a lot of success, and a lot of their descendants were incredibly successful, incredibly wealthy. I found out I'm very distantly related to Marilyn Monroe and all these famous people. And I was just like 12, we share the same grandfather 12 generations back. Like it's very, 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 very distantly related. But it still affected my feeling of self-worth. It affected my feeling of self-empowerment of like, wow, this is in my DNA. I can tap into this. Maybe I also need to clear what it means to be related to people of this stature because I'm sure they went through stuff as well, just like the rest of us. And so the point I'm trying to make is that in order to get your money flow moving, you may need to look back and you may need to do some energy clearing around mom and around dad and around money, and that's coming up for the collective for everyone for the next 4 months from now until March. And so the degree to which you do that energy clearing work and you confront the emotions, because another factor of Jupiter in Cancer is the fact that Jupiter in Cancer relates to emotion, right? It relates to how we feel, right? Jupiter in Cancer. Here it is. 0 degrees of Cancer. It will be retrograde until March. And so this is a really powerful time to look at the ancestry, look at the DNA, look at your emotions, especially in regards to money. And it's very close to conjunct what's called Hades in Uranian astrology, which can relate to death. And so this could be a time where people are experiencing extreme fear about money, extreme fear about wealth, about abundance, extreme fear about their family, being able to take care of them, being able to support them. There's a lot coming up at this new moon. Added into that, at the actual time of the new moon, we also have Mercury retrograde. So if we go over here, you can see this beautiful trifecta of planets. We have Mercury retrograde right here. It was exactly conjunct the sun at the time of the new moon. And Mercury retrograde, well, Mercury is the planet of communication, right? So traditionally, Mercury retrograde can cause slowdowns with talking to people. It can cause slowdowns with how we express ourselves. We may have issues with technology. We may have issues with delays in communication or saying the wrong thing, right? That's one of the things Mercury retrograde can cause. They also say be careful to sign contracts at this time. Now, Mercury retrograde at the time of the new moon was directly opposite Uranus. And Uranus is the planet of change. It's the planet of sudden, unexpected happenings. It's the planet of basically electricity, the internet. It's a very electric, very activating, very intense energy. Okay. And it's really, really powerful that it was opposite the planet of communication. And so it could be a time the next 2 weeks where we have these kind of powerful breakthroughs, sudden changes. And I have a story of how it affected me that was really interesting. So on the day of the new moon, my partner and I were set to do a new moon intention setting, an astrology update call. We'd been broadcasting and sharing with you all about it. And that day I woke up and the electricity was actually turned off for our entire neighborhood. So unexpected, out of the blue. I had no idea this was going to happen. It stopped our ability to communicate. We had to postpone our event till the next day. Okay, so if you're having any setbacks or changes in your schedule or things not happening quite the way you're expecting them to, I just want you to know that you're not alone and that you are actually could be experiencing potentially this Uranus opposite Mercury phenomenon, right? So, anyone want to share? Is anyone dealing with delays? Is anyone dealing with slowdowns? Let me know what's going on for you. And so what are some good things when you have this sort of interesting phenomenon of both Mercury retrograde, opposite the planet of change, opposite the planet of unexpected happenings? What are some good things to do when you have this? So when Mercury is retrograde, it can be a really, really great time to slow down. And that's hard, isn't it? A lot of us really struggle with slowing down. I know I have a tough time slowing down. So I just want to share with you a couple of suggestions for ways in which you can handle Mercury retrograde. So when Mercury is retrograde, these are things people say about it. One, do not sign agreements or contracts. Or if you do, make sure you really look into it. You really read the fine print so that you don't misinterpret something. Two, there's all because Mercury rules the mind, it rules the thought field. So there's a possibility that you might feel anxious. Okay. So if you're feeling anxiety, I want you to know that you could be feeling the fact that Mercury is retrograde. And so, what does it mean for Mercury to be retrograde? Mercury is our thought field, it's how we think, it's what we think about. When it's retrograde, retro means things from the past. When it's retrograde, we're being asked to review, to rethink, to repair, to relearn, to rediscover, reevaluate, reassess our mind state, what we think about, what is our worldview. When Mercury is retrograde, we're being asked to sort of address the mind, address ways that we've been thinking, address things that we've done. And so that's why things in the outer world sometimes slow down because Mercury is giving us an opportunity to address things that maybe we haven't addressed yet. So it's really important to ground yourself because the mind can be like this. Does anyone ever have overthinking, right? Or you feel like your mind is moving too fast? Well, that can happen when Mercury is retrograde. So it's really important to ground yourself because your mind can get really out of control. Another thing is that you want to double check your plans. You want to make sure you dotted all your I's, you crossed all of your T's, because the mind is being affected when Mercury goes retrograde. Also, it can cause disorganization and confusion, communication issues. And it's really important to think before you speak and to take things slowly. And thoughts can feel stuck. You can have issues with technology. You can have delays happen. And so, how does it help you to know this? Well, number one, we are more powerful than Mercury retrograde. We are totally at cause. We are totally in charge. And we can negate, avoid, or get past the effects of Mercury retrograde to the extent that we're able to confront, which means stand up to, look at, face what we're feeling, right? To really be with where we're at, to really think about what's going on, we can get past the effect of Mercury. But if we're trying to go fast like we normally do, and we're trying to get things done the way we normally do, and we're trying to get past it almost could feel like resistance to going forwards, we may get stuck. Okay. So the importance of really addressing and facing what you're feeling, really confronting what's there, and then you can move forward. And so Mercury doesn't go retrograde to hurt us. It doesn't go retrograde to stop us from functioning. You can think of Mercury going forwards and Mercury going retrograde like the balance of the inhale of breath and the exhale, right? So imagine that in our world, in our Western society, we're typically very focused on the inhale, right? We're acting more. We're very rarely exhaling and letting go. We're very rarely just letting ourselves surrender into the moment. And so Mercury retrograde is actually a time when we're being invited to let go. We're being invited to tune in to our own inner flow and to not be so obsessed with accomplishing out in the outer world, right? So the best things to do when Mercury is retrograde is what? Rest, reset, allow the universe to reveal to you what is going on, what's real. Allow yourself to renew, reflect on what's happening in your life, reconnect to people you haven't talked to in a while, reconnect to your own self. Reevaluate situations in your life. Is this working out for me? Is this in my highest and best good? It's a pause. It's like a cosmic pause. And the fact that it's totally opposite Uranus, it's in this relationship to Uranus, and Uranus is change. Uranus is sudden, unexpected happenings. Uranus is electricity, lightning bolts, right? It's energy. And when Uranus is involved and Mercury is retrograde, it can mean that we're being given this opportunity to have lightning bolt points of clarity, right? If we can pause instead of trying to stay active and busy and go at the same speed that we normally go, but instead we can kind of say, okay, the world out there is not functioning normal. I'm just going to pause for a moment here and I'm going to go within and I'm going to check out, okay, is there anything in my life I need to repair? Like relationships, because Mercury is in Libra. And so the sun was also in Libra. And so, what is Libra energy, right? I've been talking so much about the sun was in Libra. The sun is still in Libra until when? Until November 23rd. Okay. So, what is Libra all about? Okay. We'll get there. Libra. Well, the Babylonians called this constellation Ziba, Ana, meaning the balance of heaven, which is also connected to ideas of truth and justice, as the scales were held sacred to the sun god Shamash, associated with law and fairness. So, what Libra actually means from Latin means balance, a pair of scales. It also relates to the pound, the unit of weight, from the Proto Italic lithra, which means pound, and it goes back to ancient coin. Okay. And so Libra represents the divine balance. Okay. Balance, justice, legality. You notice that this woman is blindfolded, representing true justice. Yeah. So when Mercury, which is the planet of thought, it's the planet of rationality, it's the planet of thinking, is in Libra, the sign of balance, the sign of the law, the sign of truth and justice. We're going to have opportunities for truth to be revealed in our relationships because Libra is also associated with relationship. Libra, November 5th through November 23rd, very short constellation. It only takes the sun, golly, like 18 days to move through Libra. And this is from, if you actually look up at the sky and you look at the real constellations to see where the planets are actually located, this is the time frame where Libra occurs. And Venus will be in Libra longer because Libra moves at a different cycle than the sun. So Libra is all about relationship, balance, beauty, harmony. It is ruled by the planet Venus, which is the billionaire planet. And so it's a very wealth enhancing energy. It's also the ultimate lover of justice. And so people with a lot of Libra tend to be lawyers, they tend to be involved in the court system, they tend to be involved in justice and acting for truth. And so when we have the planet of communication in the sign of Libra, which values balance, harmony, truth, and justice, and it's retrograde, which means dealing with energetics of the past, it can mean that we're really drawn to getting justice in our relationships. We're really drawn to creating balance in our lives, right? So Libra is all about us. Are there past contracts we need to deal with? Are there past relationship stuff coming up? So this is a big one with Mercury being retrograde in the sign of Libra. Retrograde planets are notorious for causing old relationship stuff to come up to the surface. And sometimes we're not even aware of it. And sometimes it can show up in the form of exes contacting you and ringing you or writing you or coming back into your life somehow, especially if Libra rules all contracts, which mean and all marriage vows are a type of contract. So were you married before? Or were you married in a past life? With Mercury and Libra, it could be bringing those contracts, those vows, those old relationships up into your consciousness. You may not even be aware of it, but you may find that it's coming back into your reality, into your life somehow, right? And I'd love to hear in your chat if that's happening for you. Um, you might even find yourself thinking about these relationships all of a sudden. I know that right around the time that Mercury went retrograde, I suddenly started remembering one of my past relationships that I had not thought about in years and years and years. I actually did some clearing work on it and did some clearing of past vows and contracts with this person. And I actually felt way better and noticed, like, gosh, this is like such a huge, 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 huge breakthrough. So if you do energy work, if you do energy clearing with Mercury retrograde in the sign of relationships until when does it end? November 29th. This is a great time to clear contracts you may have had in romantic relationships, whether that's marriage, whether that was someone you were dating, whether it was in this life or another life, because those things could actually be interfering with your current relationship goals, right? If there's someone you want to be in relationship, are there other past relationships where you signed contracts or vows, whether in this life or another, that could be energetically getting in the way of your love relationship? And this is very, very real. And I actually do energy clearing work. And so if that's something that really speaks to you, reach out to me. I will be offering discounted sessions for clearing past relationship contracts because this is huge with Mercury being retrograde in the sign of Libra, which is ruled by Venus, the billionaire planet. We actually have Venus in Libra right now, which is just so amazing. And Libra is this energy of beauty and love, and it's all about relationships, socializing, balance, the law. And it's beautiful energy, right? It's just beautiful energy of us confronting our relationships. Now, one of the issues here, right, it relates to marriage and it's this beautiful energy is that we also have other planets in other more intense energies, right? So Libra rules marriage, rules relationships, it really rules socialization, dressing beautiful, beautiful clothing, beautiful jewelry. Mercury is retrograde in Libra, Venus is in Libra, the sun is actually in Libra. Yeah, let's just look at how many things are actually and hi, everyone. So glad you're here. How is everyone doing out there? The energy was so intense today. When I woke up, I went, whoa. I went, how is everyone doing? So I would love to hear from you guys if you want to share in the chat just how you're doing energetically. If you have any questions about astrology, what's going on in the stars, it really helps me when you ask questions because then I can give you more information and I can really tune into what the collective needs are, if you will. So right now, we're about to go to the actual sky, and I want to show you how many planets are actually in Libra right now because there's quite a few. And we just went through what is Libra all about. So here we go. We have the constellation of Libra right here. You can see that Libra is the sign of balance. We got the scales of justice right here. We have Venus near the top. And if you're wondering what we're looking at, this is Stellarium. You can go to stellarium.org and it's the actual sky. So you can kind of imagine or pretend that right now this is actually what the sky looks like. Okay, this is what's happening. If we had a telescope, this is what we'd be seeing. So, and mainstream astrology has been really pushing that everything is in Scorpio right now. But I want to show you, Scorpio's right here. And right now, the only planet that is actually in Scorpio is actually Mars, right? There's Mars right there in the left claw of Scorpio. But where we have most of our planets is still in Libra. We're about to shift, right? The sun is about to head into Scorpio, but it's not going to head into Scorpio until November 23rd. So we have a couple more days. But what we do have in Libra is Mercury retrograde, right? Which is the planet of communication. It's the planet of how we express ourselves. It's the planet of travel. It's the planet of teaching and learning. And when it's in Libra, how we want to communicate is we want to have diplomacy. We want to be fair. We want to communicate in a beautiful way with people. But when it's retrograde, this can mean that other past relationships that we've had, contracts that we've made, especially if we were married to someone else in a past life or in this life, those could be coming up to the surface. And one way is by just maybe you weren't aware of it until I said something, tuning in and asking yourself, gosh, do I have any past life contracts or vows or ties to someone in a past life or in this life? Was I married in this life or a past life that maybe is coming up to the surface right now? And one way that you'll know that it's coming up is that you're going to feel it. You're like, there's something in my consciousness that I can't quite place right now, right? And when Mercury is retrograde, we may struggle to find the words. We may struggle to express ourselves. We may struggle with truly communicating. And what's interesting is when we had the new moon Wednesday, November 19th at 10:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the sun and Mercury were actually directly conjunct. And this actually creates something really, really magical. It creates something called um, Mercury Cassimi the sun. And what does that mean? Well, it basically means Mercury in the heart of the sun. And so we don't have that happening right now, but we did have it happening at the time of the new moon. And so what that can mean is that even if we have challenges with communication right now, because I can feel it, it's almost like our brains or our minds are like slowed down because the new moon had this beautiful Mercury Cassimi, the sun aspect. We're going to be having some kind of blessing with communication come in, whether that's healing, how we communicate in our relationships, whether that's some kind of miracle or blessing we don't even know about yet. Trust me, it's going to happen. And so I want to just show you a little bit more about what Mercury Cassimi, the sun, is as we dive deep into what these new moon energies have brought up and started. They've set the seed for, right? And so here we have Mercury Cassimi, the sun, in the heart of the sun. And so what does this really mean? Well, it is all about this. So when Mercury as Cassimi, the sun, at the exact moment of the new moon, it amplifies the mental, communicative, and revelatory qualities of Mercury into the very seed point of that lunar cycle, giving this new moon a distinctly intellectual or insightful energy, right? That can imprint. So, imprint means to affect everything going forwards with this energetic frequency from now or from November 19th until the full moon, December 4th, right? So it's very beautiful energy that can imprint the entire lunation, which means the cycle of the moon, with clarity, right? Breakthroughs. It can imprint it with profound realizations. Yeah, it's very, very powerful. And so I wanted to tell you that because even though I've shared about how Mercury is retrograde, right, and it has all of these challenges, it also has a kind of huge gift attached to it, which is this Mercury Cassimi, the sun. And so, for those of you that don't know, when Mercury, the planet of communication, gets close to the sun, it can cause what is called combustion, which is when a planet gets burned by the sun, right? It's like the heat of the sun, the light of the sun is too bright and it messes up with the ability of that planet to function properly, right? So not only do we have Mercury retrograde right now, but we have Mercury combust the sun, which causes our minds to feel overwhelmed. However, because at the moment of the new moon, we had Mercury Cassimi the sun, we are being blessed. Okay, there will be breakthroughs, even if there's challenges that we have to push through, even if there's obstacles we have to deal with how we think, with how we communicate, with our thinking in general, because we have Mercury Cassimi the sun, which is this divine lunation, which is this divine alignment of when the sun is not able to combust Mercury, but rather amplifies the ability to communicate. It means that we have a special blessing between now and December 4th around our communication. Even if it's challenging, even if you have to push through. Okay, great. Okay, so someone in the chat, you just shared, I was debating if I should get my passport yesterday or Monday. Decided Monday when the moon waxes, which I think is positive. Yes, it's a great time, right? No matter what's going on with Mercury retrograde to, especially if you getting your passport was something that you've needed to get done for a while and you've been putting it off, the one thing that I can guarantee you'll be very successful with when Mercury is retrograde is dealing with things from the past. Okay, so if you've been needing to get your passport for a while, then guess what? This might be the best time ever, right? So, very good question. Okay, so we have this Mercury Cassimi, the sun, and then it was directly opposite Uranus. Do you guys know about Uranus? Uranus is such a trip. Uranus is known as the primordial sky god. He was the king of the gods before Zeus or Jupiter was the king of the gods. Supposedly, his partner was Gaia, Mother Earth. And so Uranus and Gaia created the first beings here on the planet. And Uranus rules technology, electricity, change, revolution. So, some examples of Uranian energy, people who embodied Uranian energy, Nikola Tesla, right? Um, Thomas Edison, a man who embodies Uranian energy today. Share it in the chat, right? Okay, so great. So you just shared Fun Feeds 9505. You just shared that you've been needing to get your passport since 2018. So freaking fantastic. This might be a super win for you. Okay, so what does it mean to have Mercury Sun conjunction to Uranus retrograde in Taurus? So this is what we had at the new moon. Mercury Sun conjunction. So we had Mercury retrograde conjunct the Sun opposite Uranus brings an electric, unpredictable, and liberating energy. Uranus represents sudden change, innovation, and disruption, and its retrograde indicates internal shifts about these themes. Oppositions create tension and the need for balance, allowing breakthroughs, especially in areas of security, values, and freedom versus relationship, harmony, and balance. Libra. Okay, so there's a lot of change happening in the collective. Raise your hand metaphorically if you're feeling all the change happening in the collective, right? Uranus, right, that planet of change, is actually in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is the billionaire sign. Taurus is the energy of wealth and abundance. And so for Uranus to be there, it means that change is going to be happening in our financial market. Change is going to be happening around investing. Change is going to be happening around our money flows. It's going to affect our way we grow food, the way we relate to plants, the way we relate to nature. It's going to affect all of these things. Okay. So that's all going on. Now, the fact is that the sun was literally 5 degrees away from Libra at the time of the new moon. I'm sorry, Scorpio. So, the mainstream says the sun was in Scorpio. It was actually 5 degrees away from Scorpio. So, what is Scorpio energy all about? We can dial that in a little bit to get some more clarity. Scorpio energy is deep, 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 right? How do you transmute sexual energy properly? That's one thing Scorpio might be comfortable with because Scorpio is related to the eighth house. It's related to death, sex, and transformation. It's very intense. And it relates to our deep roots. And as a Cahill Gibran said, life and death are, what did he say? For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. Okay. And so Scorpio is actually ruled by this planet here, which is called Pluto. And Pluto is known as the god of the underworld, right? And so for those of you who are like Lotus, why do you say that this new moon was in Libra? The energy just did not feel like Libra. Well, it was 5 degrees from Scorpio, so it was on the cusp. Are you guys familiar with being on the cusp? It's when the energetics of the two signs come together. So it included both, right? So on one side, we had Libra, which is balance, which is justice, which is harmony. And it also is very close to Scorpio, and the sun will be going into Scorpio in a couple days. Do not fear your death, for when that moment arrives, I will draw my breath, and your soul will come to me like a needle to a magnet. This is from Methchild of Magdeburg, written in the 13th century, the flowing light of the Godhead. Okay, and so Scorpio teaches us to let go of fear because it sometimes causes us to have to face fear, right? And with Mercury retrograde, face fear with our minds, right? We might be deep in this sort of having to go deep within our own minds to face the fears that live there, right? You might be facing all kinds of fear, right? And it's also about sexual energy. Scorpio can be so deep. It's about how to transmute sexual energy. It's about, whoa, let's see if we can get,
especially in regards to the harm.
Ooh, that one doesn't want to be skipped. I'll tell you what. Um, it can be related to Tantra. Scorpio also craves deep intimacy and communion, right? And so it can be a time where we're craving really deep soul level connection. We're craving transformation. Okay. We're craving a soulmate. And so Scorpio is from November 23rd through December 6th. And the sun is very, very close to that, right? So this new moon that happened November 19th happened right before the sun enters Scorpio by several days, right? So it's still bringing in some of that energy. And Scorpio is magnetic, passionate, powerful, intense. It's depth, it's transformation, it's the power to claim the inner phoenix of rebirth. It's sort of like phoenix energy of like death and rebirth, being, dying to be born again. And it was really interesting because Saturday last week, I had to go through an initiation. I actually had to have 3 teeth pulled, which I really wasn't looking forward to. And it was a scary thing for me. In fact, I was so scared about doing it that I had put it off 3 different times. And my partner, who's also an energy healing practitioner, he had mercy on me and he did some sessions with me the night before. And we actually had to go back in past lives and clear a very deep fear of death where I had died in a past life from being tortured. And so one of the things that going to the dentist brought up for me was this fear that I was going to be tortured. And so, Scorpio can represent fear of death, right? Fear of transformation, fear of letting go, fear of surrender. So he did energy work with me. We also had to clear my fear of being, having the shot of the numbing agent because in a past life, I'd consumed hallucinogens that caused me to feel similar to how Novocaine makes me feel all kind of weird and disoriented. And so we had to clear the fear of that lifetime. So the question I have for all of you, and yes, I did have the teeth out, and it was actually the best experience ever. It was so intense, and that's one of the key words for Scorpio. It was filled with a fear I had to transmute and transform. But if and when you're willing to confront it, to face it, to go through it, and I did, it was miraculous. I felt like my heart had a huge opening. I got through it with the least amount of fear I've ever had. And my healing has been really miraculous. Even though I had the teeth out last Saturday and it's Friday today, I'm doing so much better. And so with this Scorpio energy, and I saw someone shot a video of having their septum pierced. Those are initiations, right? Those are moments of intensity where we face inner fear, we face some type of challenge, and then we transform, right? I feel like I went through a major transformation. And so you might be going through a major transformation. I had a client contact me all the way across the world today, dealing with a very deep fear of death, right? Absolutely terrified. And that's usually when we're dealing with past life PTSD that can feel and get re-stimulated by stuff happening in our life now that feels so real. We have such deep anxiety, and I had to help him. I got to do a clearing with him. And so this can be bringing up a lot of stuff. Like if you tune into the collective field, it's very dense, it's very heavy. There's so much fear and anxiety. What is fear? Fear is false evidence appearing real. What Scorpio asks us to do is dive deep. It asks us to go beneath the surface. It asks us to really tune into the reality of what's happening. And when we finally do that, guess what? The fear goes away. We realize it wasn't even real to begin with. Okay. So wherever you're at, whatever is going on with you, remember you have the power. Scorpio starts out, its first symbol is the scorpion scuttling along on the ground, and it gets scared and then it will sting someone. It will lash out, right? It's kind of like don't hurt me or I'll hurt you kind of vibe. It can be attached. It can hold on to things. It has trouble letting go. It's stuck on the ground, right? It's stuck in its own muck. But then, as it becomes more enlightened and it goes through deeper processes of awareness and awakening, what happens is you can rise up into the symbol of the second symbol of Scorpio, which is the eagle, being able to see things from a much broader perspective. And as you follow the energy of the eagle, you can transcend the phoenix, which is where you don't even die anymore. You have the awareness that you are an eternal soul and that you can't die because you are eternal. And so Scorpio is all the labors and intensity we go through to ascend into our highest self, to remember I am eternal. I am one. I am one with all of creation. I cannot ever even die. And so that's what the energetics of these times are, especially with the sun moving into Scorpio November 23rd. And so if you're facing these fears, if you're facing this intensity, you're not alone. But it's also a time where we're calling in balance and harmony in our relationships, right? We're being asked to transcend the reality in front of our eyes, to ascend into our higher self, into our victorious, light-filled, shining, triumphant, beautiful, resplendent, gorgeous, jewel-like soul. You know, there's a beautiful story I read recently where someone compared the human soul. It was Brian Weiss, the man who wrote Many Lives, Many Masters. He did hypnosis to help people go back into their past lives and actually remembered lifetimes where between lives where they were with God and where they were souls. And he said that human beings are like diamonds. And all of us have all these facets, and some people have really clean diamonds, right? The diamonds don't have any smut, they don't have any dirt on them. All the facets are glowing and shining and resplendent and brilliant and beautiful. But he said that some people's diamonds have a little more smoke or a little bit more smog. And so we all have these brilliant diamonds. We're all this brilliant diamond at heart, but we all have different layers of muck different layers of smog and soot covering up the facets of our diamond. And so it's moments like this when the world is so intense and it's pressurizing through Mercury retrograde, opposite Uranus, change, right? The only people who like change are babies with dirty diapers. Have you ever heard that before? Okay, so human beings don't like change. And when the planet of change is opposite the planet of the mind, we have this sort of sense that the world is changing, but our minds have trouble accepting that, right? And so it goes into a bit of a tailspin, especially when it's retrograde. Then we have the fact that Mars, the planet of action, is in the energy of Scorpio, which is deep soul level transformation. And the fact that the sun is moving into Scorpio on November 23rd. So you're feeling all of that intensity. Added to that, the fact that the sun today is actually in the constant, or I'm sorry, the moon, which is how we feel, which is our emotional nature, is actually in the sign of Ophiuchus today. And Ophiuchus is the 13th sign. It's the deepest sign. You know, some people think Scorpio is the deepest, but Ophiuchus is really where it's at because Ophiuchus represents not just transformation, which is what Scorpio leads us into, the waters of transformation. It represents the energy of energy mastery. Okay. I often call Ophiuchus, and Ophiuchus is from December 7th to December 18th. Ophiuchus is the guardian of the galactic center, because it's actually conjunct the opening to the galactic center, which is the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Ophiuchus was discovered and revealed by NASA about 8 years ago. And when you add Ophiuchus to the zodiac, it becomes 13 signs. And today, the emotional nature of humanity, the mood, is in the sign of confronting our deepest, most hidden layers to become the masters of the universe, the masters of reality that we are capable of being. And so it's the sign of the healer and the guide, the teacher whose sacred knowledge needs to be heard. It's the master of transformation. It's the balance of the yin and the yang. It is the power of delving into the energy of the soul and mastering its secrets. So when the moon is in Ophiuchus, as it is today, right near Mars, which is the power of our energy, and the sun is standing at the precarious edge of Libra and Scorpio, you guys, this is deep, deep waters. Okay. If you're out there and you're like, gosh, I just want to stay in bed. I just want to, read a book, like this energy is so intense. I don't blame you. It really is fascinating, intense energy. And let's just take a look at this, right? So we have Venus, the billionaire planet, how we value things, how we receive value in our lives in Venus. I'm sorry, in Libra, the sign of balance and harmony and justice. We have Mercury also in Libra, the sign of communication and self-expression. And then we have the sun, which represents the soul, standing precariously right at the edge of Libra, headed into the claw of Scorpio. And what did we talk about with Scorpio? Scorpio is such an intense sign. It's the sign of transformation, the true regenerator. Exactly, right? And for those of you, and I'll go into the story of Ophiuchus in a moment here, but yeah, sleeping most of the day, it's very intense energy. That's a great thing to do. When we're at borderlands where the sun is in Libra here, and you can see that the claw of Scorpio, look how close that is. Like we're literally just at the edge of Libra. So here's Libra and the sun going into Scorpio. Like we're so, so close. And so when we're at borderlands here, and you just shared one of the watchers here, you just shared that you've been sleeping during the daytime. Yeah, this energy is so about going within. It's so about transforming our inner state. It's so much about finding our inner truth, right? Finding our inner balance. And as the sun moves into Scorpio at the same time, that we move into Thanksgiving week here in the United States, where we come together with family, and we have Jupiter retrograde in the sign of home and in the sign of family, right? It's very intense. It's like a lot of awareness coming up on so many levels for everyone. So let's take a look. So then we have Mars. So the sun will be headed towards Mars here in Scorpio, the sign of transformation, the sign of intensity. And then today, we literally have the moon in Ophiuchus, right? Here's Ophiuchus. You can see the man holding the snake. Ophiuchus represents the snake tamer. It represents the energy of transformation. So we have so many planets from Libra, Scorpio, and Ophiuchus all tightly packed here. Moon, how we feel emotionally in the sign of Ophiuchus, the sign of energy mastery, the sign of evolving beyond our limitations, the sign of going deep. We have Mars and Scorpio having the energy to take action, the energy to transform our lives. The sun at the end of Libra, preparing for its journey into Scorpio, its journey into transformation. Mercury retrograde in Libra, Venus in Libra. So many planets in Libra, the sign of harmony, the sign of balance, the sign of relationships. Mercury retrograde, dealing with relationships from the past, releasing contracts from past relationships. The sun preparing to leap into Scorpio, which is intensity, which is power, which is transformation, which is intensity. You know, some people compare Scorpio to a volcano exploding. And so the collective has this force of energy that's preparing to be expressed. And the important thing to do is to remember to be kind and to be gentle, especially as the sun approaches that scorpion claw right there. With the moon in Ophiuchus, we're being guided to listen to our dreams and go within. Overall, this is powerful, powerful energy, y'all. I just had to get on here. I hope you enjoyed the live today. Please share in the chat if you have any more questions about the current energetics. If you would like to know anything specifically, or you'd like to have me make any videos about specific topics, leave it in the chat. Please like, follow, and subscribe. And if you would like to book a one-on-one session, you can always go to my website, blossomwithlotus.com, and look at all of my sessions that I offer. They're really fantastic and powerful to dive deep and to connect to the soul and to find out where are the planets that I just shared with you today, Venus, Mercury, the sun, Mars, and the moon, lining up for you and what area of your life. Are they lining up in the house of wealth? Are they lining up in the house of communication? Are they lining up in the house of relationships? Where are the planets affecting you right now? And that's what one-on-one sessions are great for. Also, I may start doing some lives where I can do some chart reading for y'all, and you can just jump on and I'll do some readings for you guys. So let me know if that's something you're interested in. I wish you all immense love and light, and just remember, none of us are in this alone. We're all connected. Okay, so if you're feeling a lot of depth or intensity come up or rise up, be with it, right? Allow it, notice it, breathe through it. Know that we're transforming major energies to step into the next timelines, and know that all of us are preparing to shoot up into our next level of awesomeness. And so the planetary bodies are helping to assist us to go really deep, to transmute and transform what's in the way of our next level. So everything's happening for us. Everything's happening to help us evolve and to grow. You have all the tools you need. If you could use some more support, you can write me. And I look forward. Oh, it looks like your birthday is in 8 days. So that means that you were born during Scorpio season. We're going to be out of Libra by then. So happy almost birthday. And I will try to jump on here and do some live soon, doing chart readings for y'all. So you can leave in the chat if you would like to be involved in that. And then just be looking for notifications that I'm on here live, and perhaps I can do some readings for y'all. All right, sending you so much love. Happy, happy birthday. And looking forward to talk to you soon. Biggest love, biggest light. Aloha.